What's up? My name's Mike. It's good to see you today. It's really hot out, so I'm gonna keep the car running with the AC on because otherwise everything's gonna overheat, me included. But today I want to talk about like why you're so defensive all the time and why you seem to just always get in arguments with people and always seem to just get upset with everyone around you. And this is really interesting because this is something that I had been doing for a really long period of time, but I didn't really realize that I was doing it and I didn't understand where it came from. What I realized recently is that there was an event that happened in my life where I lost trust for someone very important to me. You know what? Yeah, I just need to tell the story. I can't give you full context without just telling you what happened. So I told you in the past about how I dropped out of college the first time and how I was in a situation where I was at home and I felt lost and I just didn't really have a direction in life. Well, after I was home and after I was like kind of back on my track, I had been working part-time for a little bit and I was just trying to get my stuff together. My dad actually reached out to me, and my dad and we hadn't really been in communication with each other on a regular basis since I was much younger. So the fact that he reached out to me, the fact that we were having a conversation was kind of groundbreaking for me, for us, for the both of us. And what he proposed was that he wanted to move away from where he was, sell our childhood home basically, and just start fresh somewhere completely different. Now, mind you, at this point in time, my dad had got remarried. So I hate to put it this way, but this is the easiest way for me to put it. But like, he had a second family. You know, I mean, they're my family members too, right? But like, my thinking at the time was that, oh, okay, he had his first set of kids, things didn't work out so well, so he got remarried and he's trying again with his second family, right? That's literally the way that I saw it at the time. And I'm ashamed of myself for thinking that way. But again, that's just where I was at that spot. So what he was saying was, you know what? I need a fresh start. You've been through a lot. You seem like you could use a fresh start. Let's just go somewhere else and start over. No one has to know who we are. Nobody has to know our past. We can just reinvent ourselves. And this was really attractive to me. You know, someone who had basically been born and raised and never really left their hometown for an extended period of time. This idea of being somewhere completely new, somewhere completely different, living like a brand new life. Like, it was almost like the idea of just being able to be completely free and I could be whoever I wanted to. And it was really exciting for me. So I agreed. You know, my dad and I, again, we weren't on great terms. We hadn't talked to each other in a long time, but I was down to give it a shot and just see how things were gonna go. So I went Southside Chicago, not Southside, but you know, like near Hyde Park. Let me just say that. It was near Hyde Park. And I helped him pack up all of our stuff. You know, we put everything in a big moving truck and we left that whole place behind, you know? Here's a home that I had spent 18 plus years of my life just going back and forth to, and we just said goodbye to it. So when we moved to this new place, and out of respect for my father, I'm not gonna say where it is, but it's a much more, it's no Chicago. Let me say that. It's very rural. It's a much smaller population city. There's a lot more greenery. There's like farms and stuff like that around. So it's nowhere near what I was used to. It was a completely different experience. And alongside that, there were different people. There were people who thought that Chicago is like a barren wasteland filled with people just running around the streets, you know, shooting each other down with AK-47s. Like literally that was people's perception of where I was from. And if you been in Chicago, then you know that like, yes, we get a lot of flack for shootings and stuff like that, but Chicago's not really like that. So it's wild being surrounded by people who are like, oh, you're from Chicago, I can't believe you're still alive. And I'm like, okay, thanks. I guess, like, thank you. Like, I don't know how to respond to that. It was also a predominantly white area, so there were a lot of people who looked at me and they're like, oh, you're not white. You know, and it wasn't like a disrespectful way. It was just literally ignorance. Just, I've never seen a dark-skinned person before, and I'm not even that dark. Like, I have a tan right now. I'm not even that dark. So I couldn't even imagine being like dark in a place like that, right? But That's just the way it was. That was just how some people interacted with me. But for the most part, people were very friendly. But the point was, I was just coming off a very, very low point in my life. And now here I was in a brand new environment, in a brand new area, being surrounded by people that I don't know. I have no friends. I have no hobbies. All the people that I grew up with were still back in my hometown. Like, I'm literally starting from scratch, which is what I signed up for. But man, it was hard. Not only that, but I'm now living with the father who I didn't have a very good relationship with. So what am I trying to say here? What I'm trying to say is that I don't feel like I set myself up for success being in this area to begin with. And there were a lot of expectations of me. Being the older brother now, I was expected to take care of, or at least be an example for, again, I hate this term, but just for the sake of the story, this is how I'm gonna say it, for his new kids, right? I was always the youngest of four, now I was the oldest of four. And like it or not, I had an impression on my younger sibling, and I was not prepared or ready for that. As someone who was so mentally unstable, emotionally unstable as I was at that point in time, the last thing I wanted was to be responsible for another human being. That's scary. That's very scary. So moving on, right? I was really struggling with adapting to this brand new situation. And I think that my father saw that. And I think that he tried to support me in his own ways. Like, he tried to give me things to do. He tried to keep me busy. He tried to keep me accountable. He tried to give me a routine so that I could like start to just find some kind of normalcy in all of this. But it was like, I just couldn't stick to it. And I remember when my sister came and visited, there was a conversation that my dad had with me. And it was clear that I just wasn't able to do the things that he wanted me to, that I just wasn't able to stick with it. And he literally told me to my face. And to this day, these are some of the most hurtful words that were ever said to me, because I really truly felt like I was doing everything that I could. I really felt like I was pushing myself harder than I ever had in my life. And he looked at me and he told me, I'm disappointed in myself for thinking that you would take any of this seriously. And I remember I was so crushed. I was so like heartbroken that he would say that to me. I had uprooted my entire life, everything that I knew, everything that I loved, and everything that I had previously known was back in Chicago. And I did this in part to help him. So for him to say those words to me, it literally just changed the way that I looked at him. One sentence changed the way that I looked at him permanently. And I remember my sister, she was there, and I went up to her and I said, how long are you gonna be here for? When are you leaving? Can I go with you? And I packed my stuff up and I left with my sister a couple nights later, and that was it. You know, that was it. I kind of just went back home to where I was. And what I noticed was that every time I spoke to my dad after that, it could literally just be him checking up on me, trying to see how I'm doing. It could literally just be him saying, you know, hey, I saw that you did XYZ, I'm really proud of you. But every second that I was on the phone with him, I was just waiting for him to say something that would set me off. I was sitting there primed and ready to pounce on him. I was waiting for anything that he could say for me to just retaliate and get upset with him. Because I had this pent up anger and I had this pent up resentment towards him for the thing that he said to me all those years ago. So to tie things back together, if you find yourself being very defensive and you find yourself taking things personally, then a lot of the time it's because you were betrayed in your past. You gave yourself to somebody. You felt like you 100% turned yourself over to somebody else. And they either didn't recognize it, they didn't respect it, or they betrayed your trust. And since that moment forward, you have lost trust for not just that person, but other people around you. And the way that I recognized this was that I went to my sister's commencement not too long ago, and we had this conversation. She admitted to the exact same thing, that instead of sitting there and just experiencing the conversation and just going back and forth and just talking like a normal person, both of us, we were both doing this. And I'm sure that my other siblings do it too. We were sitting there just waiting. What's he gonna say this time? What's he gonna do this time? You know, What idea does he have this time, right? That's so unfair. Here's someone literally just trying to check up on you, literally just looking out for you, and all you have to do in return is to sit there and wait to turn the tables on them. So if you find yourself doing this a lot, then I challenge you to take a step back and really think about, why is it that you're feeling the way that you do? Why do you hold resentment towards this person, right? Is this somebody who, again, has betrayed you in the past or has betrayed your trust? Are they looking out for you? If they're not looking out for you, then maybe it's time to evaluate if you want to keep this person in your life or not. And that's a tough thing to do. But for the sake of your own mental state, and just to not waste your time and their time with this fake relationship, right? Sometimes you need to just admit yourself that, like, I'm not ready to have you in my life. I'm not able to have you in my life right now because nothing positive is going to come out of this. But that's my story. If you've gone through something similar, I mean, I'd love to hear about it. So go ahead, leave a comment down below. Let's start a discussion. You know, we all come from different places in life. We've all had different experiences, and my story may not resonate with you the same way that somebody else's does. So feel free to share your experiences. If you don't want to do that publicly, go ahead, just send me a DM, a DM on Instagram. I'll link my Instagram down below, as I always do. But that's all I really got for you today. I appreciate the time you took, and until next time.